Welcome, everyone. Um, the first thing I'd like to do is to recognize some of our distinguished guests. We have with us today our Vice Mayor, Keir Jones, Councilmember Robert Copeland, Councilmember Lori Woods, our City Manager, Hannah Shinhaydor. I saw our Chief of Police. Where did he go? Oh, Brian. I'm sorry, Captain Brian Lynn is here. Sorry. From our great surrounding city, we have Mayor Robert Garcia, have Councilmember Cindy Allen, and Councilmember Al Austin. From Assembly Members Patrick O'Donnell's office, we have Shane Weaver. I would also like our commissioners, our planning commissioners, our civil service commissioner, and our Parks and Rec commissioners who are here to please stand. Be recognized. You know, hiding from me, but he's hiding in plain sight, is Councilmember Daryl Supernall from Long Beach as well. Again, hiding in plain sight, right up front. Can't be seen, but is seen. Chief Luna from the city of Long Beach. And we also have, I'm going to try to read your name from here, Chief Espino, Long Beach Fire. And I apologize, I don't have a teleprompter. We're a small city. Good morning, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, and kids all ages. I'd like to thank God for the blessing to be here today. I also want to thank the ministers that will be providing the remarks as well. We are all members of the greater Long Beach community, so thank you all for attending. I also want to personally thank Ms. Savvy Com for having the biggest and warmest heart that I know. For the survivors of that September day and the families of those we lost wherever you are today, it is a great honor to be with you, which on this day, which I know is still difficult. Technical difficulties, people. We are here on this auspicious occasion at the Unity statue facing east to honor the nearly 3,000 lives lost 20 years ago on this day. A day that started out innocently, much like today. As we look out over this view, we are reminded that the world can and does change in mere seconds and in a blink of an eye. I remember waking up that day, taking a shower, brushing my teeth and getting ready to go to work. At that time, I worked for Nissan. I had started my second term on council earlier that year in March. I still find it hard to believe what I saw that day when I turned on the TV to watch the news. One plane had already crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. There was a lot of chaos and uncertainty, as at the time it was undetermined if it was an accident or on purpose. When the second plane flew into the South Tower at 600 miles per hour, it was clear that this destruction was intentional. I remember that I began to cry. As soon as I saw the second plane crash into the building, I knew immediately, as we all know now, that the world had changed forever. It is my belief that the terrorists were not just attacking the United States, but they were declaring war on the whole world by choosing the World Trade Center as a target. These two towers were not just two office buildings. They housed a child care center, several international businesses and agencies, several U.S. companies large and small. They were iconic parts of the New York skyline. They housed innocent people that came from 90 nations around the world. Two other planes were part of this plot, one that crashed into the Pentagon and the fourth that never reached its target, believed to be the White House. Because of the heroic efforts of the passengers, this plane never reached there. Regular everyday people that once they learned of what was happening, took it upon themselves to take action and to take the plane back. This flight ended crashing into the empty field in Pennsylvania. We honor the first responders who did not think about the severity of the danger. At the time, all they knew was that there was an emergency and people, their fellow citizens, needed help. In New York, almost every fire battalion, every ambulance, every hospital sprang into action. As people ran from the area, firefighters ran up the 80 flights of stairs in an attempt to save lives and put out fires. If ever there was an example of the American spirit, this was the moment. We also remember and honor the volunteers that came to their aid, responding with compassion, with courage, and with haste. Over these 20 years, we have rallied as a people, as a nation, and as one. We recognize that life is random. All that is to be known is not yet known. We will face obstacles, disasters, difficulties, and complications, in addition to joy, love, honor, and prosperity. It is how we respond to these situations that define who we are. Quoting President Obama, "For we know that our diversity, our pathward heritage, is not a weakness. It is still and always will be one of our greatest strengths." This is the America that was attacked that September morning. This is the America that we must remain true to. We will remember and never forget the lives taken, including the youngest at age 3. Across our country today, Americans are coming together in service and remembrance. 20 years later, the question still remains, how do we honor the lives lost? First, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live them. Let's make 9/11 a national holiday. Second, I believe we do so by modeling the actions of the first responders in our daily lives, holding true to the ideals of equality, the understanding that we are better together. Look to help others facing a crisis, even though our own lives are full. Take a proactive approach to making our community better. Today, we're facing a pandemic, COVID-19, that has taken the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans and millions of people around the world. Each day, thousands continue to contract this disease. The new variants are running havoc on children and adults alike. Now even some that are vaccinated are becoming infected. But we do have tools to combat the disease. We must maintain sanitary habits, like wear a mask. And if you must, make it a fashion statement. I have. But I will admit it was not my idea. Savi got me the mask. If we are to ever get our country back, we must, as individuals, prioritize community over self. Paraphrasing President Kennedy, who said, "Ask not what my country can do for me, ask what I can do for my community." As you leave here today, remember that you are part of a great community, and each and every one of us matter and counts. God bless America, and God bless you all for coming. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. I would like to now invite Mayor Robert Garcia up to address.
Well, good morning, everybody. Obviously, both a very solemn occasion, but I think also one of friendship with each other. It's probably very hard to find two communities that are more intertwined and more and as close as Signal Hill and Long Beach are. What happens in Signal Hill impacts Long Beach every day, and what happens in Long Beach impacts Signal Hill every single day. And I think we share an amazing community, and I'm just very happy to be with all of you, especially the City Council and the leadership. And I was mentioning earlier that while I've been to, I think, most of Signal Hill and certainly all the parks, and have met many friends, of course, that live here. It was my first time actually here at the actual memorial, and it's I was mentioning to our team how beautiful it is, and it's a really great reflection of being able to look out and be pensive about what an awful day that was, yet one that still inspires us as we move forward. I want to thank Mayor Wilson, especially, for hosting Long Beach here today, and to celebrate, because we are not just remembering, but we're celebrating heroism these 20 years later, the September 11th attacks. I especially want to thank our firefighters and our police officers and our first responders. Not just those and not just those that that lost their lives or that have been forever hurt, both physically and in many cases living with that tragic day, but also the ones that work every single day to keep us safe and healthy. It's a very difficult time in our country. And I am so proud, and I tell them every day, I'm so grateful to the men and women of the Long Beach Fire and Police Department, and the same goes here, of course, in Signal Hill, to our departments here, to our county partners. Thank you for your service. You do and so much for us and keep us safe. And also to our military service members who have every single day since that day and before taken that call of action to protect our freedoms, do as they were commanded, and to keep us safe as a country. We know, absolutely, let's give them a round of applause. We know that the world is a complex place, and even today, as our military moves and shifts our priorities across the world, we are so grateful for them for protecting our freedoms every single day. Now, I remember 20 years ago, I was on my way out of Cal State Long Beach as a student, and I remember the day so clearly in my head. And I think, like most of you, and there's some here that weren't born then, but for most of us, we remember that day very clearly. And I was with a group of friends in the morning. I lived with a group of other guys, and just the terror that we all felt that day is still with us. I think all of us had a shared moment of watching this awful, awful tragedy. I hope, particularly for young people, that we continue to learn about this day, and not just about the terror, but about the heroism and the lessons that we have learned since that awful day. I know today is, again, a somber day for all of us, but as we're here in this beautiful community in Signal Hill, let's also uplift and think about our shared journey that we are at this moment. As Mayor Wilson commented, we are also going through a very difficult phase in our country's history, and certainly one that is impacting many, many families and very many, many lives. And once again, it's our police officers, our firefighters, our medical responders, our first responders personnel that are stepping up and meeting this challenge for all of us within our community. So as I close, I just want to reflect and thank once again all the women and men that wear the uniform, whether it's in our military service or whether it's as a first responder, for your incredible service to not just Signal Hill, Long Beach, but the entire country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Joining us has been our council member, Tina Hansen. I also missed our city treasurer, David Hopper. Keep looking around the room, or not the room, sorry, just to make sure I didn't miss anyone. If I did, raise your hand so I can properly acknowledge you. At this time, we have, was it Peace Kids? Yes.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, Great Spirit, help me to speak the truth quietly, to listen with an open mind, and to remember that peace can be found in silence. Charity prayer.
It is under the greatest adversity that there exists the grace the country for doing good, both for itself and others. Dalai Lama. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the love of no peace by Jimi Hendrix.
Inspiring words come from all walks of life. At this time, I am going to have Jared Kai Bolt come forward and give us some remarks.
Thank you. So, my name's Venerable Jared Kai, representing Cambodian people here, our community in Long Beach. I am here today with you to join you to remember those who lost their lives and to honor the first responders who also lost their lives trying to save the lives of others. The tragedy that took place on that day was unthinkable. The sufferings of the people who lost their loved ones can still be felt today. I can understand it firsthand because I went through all these sufferings back in my country. Millions of innocent lives were lost in Cambodia in the period of 3 years by the Khmer rules. As human beings, we are born and then in the end we died. That's the law of nature. But that should happen peacefully and naturally. So today we are here to remember not only for those who lost their lives, but also to remember why it happened. In Buddhism, we say lopa, that is greed, dosa, hatred and anger, moha, that is misperceptions and ignorance, are the root cause of all problems in this world. So if we want peace and unity, hatred and discriminations are not the way to go. Only when we learn to understand each other's, have compassion for each other's, love and respect for each other's, help each other's, then peace and unities will happen. Everything starts from each and every one of us by being kind to each other's. Sometimes we need to have courage to be kind. We need to work together because we have seen enough violence throughout our human histories, including 9/11. So let's work together to stop the violence that destroyed innocent life everywhere in the world. So I have just this short message. So I'm gonna pray, do a short prayer from the Buddhist verses. Sappe satta avera honto sokhita honto nitukha honto anika honto aroka honto sampate he samai chanto sokhe atanang pare haranto Tukhapata jane tukha phayapata jana phaya sokhapata jani sokha honto sape pepane no sadhu sadhu sadhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this year we actually, for the first time, acknowledged and celebrated the Cambodian Remembrance Day in the city of Signal Hill. I did make remarks on that, that if you are unfamiliar with the Khmer Rouge and the genocide, where over 20% of the population was eliminated. It is something that this world should never ever forget. That type of destruction, that type of brutality should never ever ever happen again. At this time, I will introduce Tariq Muhammad to provide us some comments.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon all of you. In behalf of religion, start with everything with peace. In behalf of religion, they call it Islam, which is peace. In behalf of religion, his book, they call it Book of Peace. And the Lord, they call it Lord of Peace. And also the mission and teaching to lead in this life and the hereafter for the house of peace. Peace be upon you. Peace be upon those we lost. September 11, I still remember that day when the airplanes slammed to the building and they said somebody hijacked the airplane. He doesn't know he hijacking the same time my own faith, my own teaching, and my own religion. He hijacked our community in general. And I am asking every believers here or in the world, did Islam do that or asking for that? So dear brothers and sisters, I don't believe the person he did that, he have any comment or teaching or learning from Islam at all. So allowed me to say I am unapologetic Muslim for guilt we never commit, even if some Muslim among us did it. Islam, he never did it. Islam, he's never asked for it. Islam is the peace of religion. We exercise it. We know it. We know it, every detail about it. Peace in who those we lost of our country, men and women, young and old people in the age, make everyone he believe in God, or everyone he doesn't even believe in God and have a skill of humanity to reject and refuse such acts. I am Tariq Muhammad, the chairman from Long Beach Islamic Center. Please join me with pray for the person we lost in this incident. And do not allow anybody to hijack any religion and do such crazy things and kill by the God's name. God is mercy, God is a beautiful, God is lovely God, and will not allow anyone to hijack our faith and our religion. I'm gonna do it by Arabic, so please join me this prayer. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله علانيته وسره. يا رب, يا Allah, oh my Lord, we all here, all this is hearts, all the different faith, we're raising our hand to you to bless our country, to bless our community. Oh Lord, help us to stop such a people to hijack your religion and your faith and speak on your behalf. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم يا ربنا نعوذ بك مما فعلوا هذا. الله إن الأمر أمرك والفعل فعلك. اللهم يسر لنا أن نبرز الحقيقة والحق about عنك وعن دينك يا رب العالمين. اللهم انزل رحماتك، اللهم انزل رحماتك، اللهم انزل رحماتك. آمين آمين. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
At this time, we will have comments from Rabbi Scott Fox. Sorry, I'm going to stand back here because it's hot.
I'm Rabbi Scott Fox with Temple Israel of Long Beach, and I'm glad to be together today. 20 years ago, thousands of lives were broken. Families were torn apart. And yet today we gather for a moment of peace. And so I'd like to suggest something about this moment I hope you'll indulge me a little bit. I am a rabbi, so I am going to teach a little bit, if you don't mind. And that is about the word shalom in Hebrew. Now, many of us have seen it on greeting cards or various different things, and we know it as a word that gets thrown around in a number of different ways, but often as hello and goodbye. But I'd like to think that the word first meant peace. It's almost impossible to know exactly the history of it. But and it came to mean hello and goodbye as an indication of hoping that someone might go or arrive in peace. But there's another kind of interesting meaning to this word. If you were to open up a dictionary and look for translations, it would say hello, goodbye, and this strange other usage. The other usage of the word shalom is to describe something assembled. My little one right now is really into trains and has been putting together the train sets. And in Hebrew, you would say lishalem. Adi has assembled the train sets to complete something, to bring something together, ultimately. Well, I'd like to suggest that this reminds us of something truly profound about the act of peace. And that is that peace is something that we do. It's not just a state, it's an action. It's something that we take part in, and especially today in a world that can be so divided, it is profound that we are together today. And I would like to suggest that this gathering is an act of peace. Being together and completing part of the work of a peaceful world. And so I want to thank you for being partners in the most defiant act possible against war and violence and terror, and that is joining together as one, complete and in peace. Baruch atah makor shalom. Blessed are you, the source of peace.
Thank you. We also have another honored guest that joined us from the 9th District from the city of Long Beach, Councilman Rex Richardson. And our final speaker, we have Jane Gould.
Thank you. I'm Jane Gould, rector of St. Luke San Lucas Episcopal Church in Long Beach. And I'd like to thank the city of Signal Hill for organizing this event and for gathering the people of Long Beach and Signal Hill together on this important day. Many of us remember where we were 20 years ago this morning. We might remember what we had planned to do that day, but we surely remember images of smoke, fire, wreckage, and horror that filled our day. Images of first responders racing into burning, collapsing buildings without thought to their own lives, but only that they might find someone still alive. Living just north of Logan Airport in Boston, reports started drifting in of people we knew who were on one of the planes that crashed into the World Trade Center. People stood in long lines in Boston to give blood at local hospitals as we prepared to receive the wounded from New York, wounded who never came. Too many were dead. We couldn't reach my sister in New York, who worked on the 52nd story of a high-rise. We couldn't reach my sister in Washington, D.C., who worked at the State Department. At the end of the day, my sisters were safe. But Christopher Newton and thousands of others were not. Chris grew up at St. Luke's, Long Beach, and lost his life at the Pentagon, where he was in his second week of a new job. His family is in Washington, D.C. today at an event gathering the family members of friends and friends of those who died. We gather here at the Unity Monument this morning for a celebration of peace and unity. Across the nation, people are joining community service projects. At St. Luke's this morning, over 100 people of a whole host of ethnic, religious, language, age, education, and gender identities will receive showers, food, and clothes. Yes, we focus on peace, unity, and service because 20 years ago today, the 9/11 attacks unleashed fear, discrimination, and violence. Our nation declared war with only one dissenting vote. Sick people and other people of color in our communities experienced hate crimes. Long before she became famous with her "Is it the tomb or is it the womb" image, Sikh activist and religious leader Valerie Carr, then a college student, set out across the country, camera in hand, to document stories of hate violence on people of color, especially Sikh Americans. Galvanized by the murder of Balbir Singh Sodhi, a Sikh father and family friend, who was the first person killed in a hate crime following the September 11th attacks. Today, the LA-based leader calls us to transform ourselves through revolutionary love. Revolutionary love which challenges us to see no stranger and to recognize all of creation as part of ourselves. Or, as one of our peace kids read, Mother Teresa's guide, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. In this moment of 20th century observances, Carr challenges us. She writes, America needs to reconcile with itself and do the work of apology. To say to Indigenous, Black, and brown people, we take full ownership of what we did. To say we owe you everything. To say we see how harm runs through generations. To say we own this legacy and will not harm you again. To promise the non-repetition of harm would require nothing less than transitioning the nation as a whole. It would mean retiring the old narrative about who we are, a city on a hill, and embracing a new narrative of an America longing to be born, a nation whose promise lies in the future, a nation who can only realize by doing the labor, reckoning with the past, reconciling with ourselves, restructuring our institutions, and letting those who have been most harmed be the ones to lead us through the transition. I invite you now to join me in prayer. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
So before we release the doves, and did everyone get a program, by the way? If not, there's still some available. But before we release the doves, I'd like to take a moment to actually read the inscription on the Unity Monument. So bear with me. Hello? Okay. So the Unity Monument says, dedicated to the victims of September 11, 2001, including those who lost their lives and those who lost their loved ones. The monument is a symbol of our nation's renewed spirit and unity, blending 5 separate metals: stainless steel, brass, copper, nickel, and copper nickel, to form a sculpture representing our nation's diversity. The monument faces the east coast as a tribute to that day.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed.
May I be safe and protected from inner and outer evil.
May you be safe and protected from inner and outer evil.
May I be happy.
May you be happy.
May I be safe from inner and outer affliction.
May you be safe from inner and outer affliction.
May I find peace in an ever-changing world.
May you find peace in an ever-changing world.
Thank you. And as we wrap up our event today, it's a reminder, and as we had all of the ministers from the different religions speak, the one and the most underlying message in all books of faith, in all religion, repeated time and time again, is love. If we have love for each other, if we have compassion for each other, if we look to unite and do those things that we all have in common, we will all prosper. I hope we can all remember that and have a wonderful day. Thank you for coming.